The Pentagon just failed its audit for the 7th year in a row. We're talking about a budget bigger than the entire economy of Switzerland. Ever wonder how the department that's supposed to defend America can't figure out where hundreds of billions of your tax dollars went? Today I'll explain the Pentagon's failed audit like you're 5 years old. You'll understand exactly how broken military accounting systems are. Your money gets funneled into a black hole where nobody can track it. Nobody gets punished, and the budget keeps growing anyway. Here's what happened this year. Every year, the Pentagon is supposed to prove it knows where its money went. It's just like showing receipts if the IRS comes knocking. In 2024, they got handed an $824 billion budget. That's more than the next 10 countries' military spending combined. The US spends more on defense than China, Russia, India, Saudi Arabia, the UK, Germany, France, South Korea, Japan, and Ukraine combined. And somehow they still can't pass a basic accounting test. Every public company in America is legally required to pass this test every single year. Small businesses face serious penalties for failing these audits, including fines and potential criminal charges. The audit isn't some gotcha moment designed to embarrass generals. It's supposed to be simple accounting. Show us what you bought, where it is, and prove the numbers add up. Imagine if you told your landlord you paid rent but couldn't show a receipt. You didn't remember which account you paid from. Also, maybe the money went to a different apartment you're not sure exists. That's basically what's happening here. Except instead of $2,000 in rent, it's $824 billion in taxpayer money. Now here's where it gets wild. The Pentagon has never passed an audit. Not once, not ever. They didn't even attempt one until 2018, despite decades of requirements. They've failed every single year since then. 7 audits, 7 failures, and 0 consequences. It's like showing up to the same math test every year. You write your name wrong on purpose every single time. Then you still get promoted because everyone's too tired to deal with it. So what exactly is missing? Nobody knows, and that's the problem. It's not that the Pentagon spent money on the wrong things. They literally cannot account for where the money went. Assets worth billions just vanish from spreadsheets. Equipment disappears without explanation. Entire bases have supplies that don't match any inventory list. It's like if Target couldn't tell you how many stores they own. They don't know whether the warehouses are full or empty, but they kept ordering more stuff and charging your credit card anyway. Some of the specifics are genuinely disturbing. The Army failed its audit because it couldn't track over $1 trillion in assets. Not million, trillion with a T. The Air Force couldn't account for where aircraft parts went. The Navy had ships with equipment that wasn't in any database. We're talking about fighter jets, missiles, armored vehicles, weapons systems. This is stuff that costs more than most people's entire neighborhood, and it's all floating around in some accounting black hole. Except these socks cost $90 million each and can level a city block. Here's the real kicker. Each branch of the military uses different financial systems that don't communicate with each other. The Army tracks expenses one way, the Navy another way. The Air Force uses something completely different. It's dozens of incompatible systems all failing simultaneously. Some bases track spending on software from the 1980s, literally running on technology older than most soldiers currently serving. Other systems are so old they literally cannot communicate with newer technology. They've known about this problem for decades. Instead of fixing it, they just keep piling more money on top. The Department of Defense operates over 2,000 separate financial management systems. Most Fortune 500 companies run on a single integrated platform. But the Pentagon somehow needs 2,000 different ways to lose track of your money. Each system speaks its own language, follows its own rules. When auditors try to trace a single purchase order, it might touch 5 different systems, spread across 3 different branches. None of them agree on the final numbers. This creates a situation where reconciliation becomes virtually impossible, even with teams of professional auditors working full-time. But here's the part that should make your eye twitch. Every time the Pentagon fails an audit, Congress just shrugs. Then they hand them more money the next year anyway. It's the only government agency that gets rewarded for failing basic accountability standards. Imagine if you stopped showing up to work. You couldn't explain what you did with the company credit card. Your boss responded by giving you a raise. That's essentially what happens every budget cycle. The Pentagon fails, officials say they're working on it, then the budget increases by another $30 billion like clockwork. This matters to you because that money comes directly from your paycheck. Every time you see that chunk of federal taxes vanish before your direct deposit hits, a huge percentage goes to the Pentagon. Unlike Social Security or Medicare, which you can track and see benefits from, this money just evaporates. It goes into a system so broken that auditors can't figure out where to start looking. You're funding the world's most expensive magic trick. Billions of dollars disappear right before your eyes. Nobody can explain how the trick works, including the magician. Let's put this in perspective. The $824 billion defense budget equals roughly $2,500 for every single person in America. That's a family of 4 contributing $10,000 annually to the Pentagon. Meanwhile, the entire NASA budget is $25 billion. They can tell you the exact location of a rover on Mars down to the centimeter. The difference isn't capability, it's accountability. The consequences extend beyond just lost money. When the military can't track its assets, it can't make informed decisions. They don't know what they actually need to purchase. Bases might order new equipment because they can't find what they already have. Critical supplies might sit unused in one warehouse, while another base runs short. Strategic planning becomes guesswork when you don't know your actual inventory. It's not just financial incompetence. It's operational incompetence that could affect military readiness. This creates potential vulnerabilities that adversaries could exploit if they understood the true scope of organizational chaos. Some people argue the complexity is intentional. If you make the system so complicated that nobody can follow the money, then nobody can question it. Defense contractors love this setup because vague accounting means less oversight. Weapons manufacturers get paid whether the equipment works or not. Sell products to a customer who can't track what they bought. They don't know what they paid. They'll definitely order more next year. Others say it's just decades of bureaucratic expansion without planning. The Pentagon is so massive, with so many branches, bases, and contractors, it became impossible to manage. The Defense Department now operates in 160 countries. They maintain over 750 military bases worldwide. Each location adds another layer of complexity. Another system that doesn't quite sync with headquarters. Another opportunity for money to vanish. But here's what really matters. Even if the Pentagon suddenly passed an audit tomorrow, nothing would fundamentally change. The budget would still be $800 billion or more. Contractors would still get paid. Bases would still operate. The audit isn't really about finding fraud or waste. It's about maintaining the illusion of accountability. This keeps taxpayers from asking difficult questions, like why we're spending more on defense than education, infrastructure, and healthcare combined. Meanwhile, bridges collapse. Teachers buy classroom supplies with their own money. Cities ration clean water because they can't afford basic infrastructure repairs. To recap, the Pentagon just failed its 7th consecutive audit. Their budget exceeds most countries' entire economies. They can't account for trillions in assets. They operate over 2,000 incompatible financial systems. Congress keeps increasing their budget despite zero accountability. The system benefits contractors and politicians who profit from complexity. You're paying for all of it. Meanwhile, you're told there's no money for student loans, universal health care, or fixing the roads. So here's the real question. If the Pentagon can lose track of $824 billion annually with zero consequences, how do we know anything? How do we know your tax dollars are actually being spent on national defense? Or is the money just disappearing into a system designed to be too complicated to audit?